Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're joining me today for this painting tutorial. We're going to paint a wagon and a horse in winter, and it's going to be a holiday themed painting. We're going to have some pretty wreaths, Christmas wreaths with bright red ribbons. Today I'm working on a 9x12 canvas, but this is pretty small and you can paint this on any size canvas that you like. I think that if it was on a larger canvas, like a 16x20 or even 18x24, it would look quite beautiful. Now I just want to go over the colors I'm using today really quickly, and make sure you don't forget to look down below this video in the description box. I'll have a full list of all the colors and brushes and some links to other tutorials and more of my work that you might enjoy. So let's go over these colors. I've got titanium white, sap green, crimson red, scarlet red, burnt sienna, and Mars black. The brushes we're going to be using today first are a number 30 Filbert brush. I'm going to use this brush to just start working on the background, and then I'm going to come in and use it in a different way for creating some bushes. So I'm just going to start right away. We're going to get this brush a little bit wet. You definitely don't want to have any drips of water coming out of it, otherwise that means you have too much water. You just want it damp enough so that it can easily spread the paint around. Now we're going to begin with white and just a little bit of that black. So all we want to do is create a soft gray. And I'm going to go side to side, just back and forth. Pick up a little bit more water here. And I know it's going to dry a little bit darker than this, so I want to make sure that I get a softer gray here and there. So it's not solid. It doesn't have to be the same shade of gray all over the canvas. It's actually nicer to have a few different shades and hues of gray going on. I'm going to take a little bit more water and soften all the edges here. I want to mention that I applied 2 coats of white acrylic gesso beforehand to prep this canvas. What that does is it creates a barrier between the paint and the canvas so that the paint will stay nice and bright and last for years to come. Otherwise, paint can fade over time if the canvas isn't prepped correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and start adding a little bit of bushes, and I'm going to take my sap green. I haven't washed my brush off. A little bit of sap green, black into that gray. So we've got a really nice grayish green color. And I'm just going to start by pushing and tapping. And the paint is still a little bit wet, which is nice because I'm getting all these softer tones here as it kind of starts to pick up a little bit of that light gray. Okay, now what I want to do is just pull and cut across. You can do this back and forth, side to side if you like. Okay, now I'm going to switch brushes. I've got a 1-inch oval mop brush. I'm going to apply the paint to this dry. I want it to be nice and kind of puffy like it is. I'm going to tap in to my white. Okay, and then I'm just going to start adding some frosty tops to my bushes, maybe make it look a little bit heavier with snow. Depends on how much you want to add. Okay, so like less paint It'll look a little bit frostier. More paint and you'll have that snowy look. Either one looks nice. You really can't go wrong. I'm going to pick a few areas here where I'm going to make this a little bit heavier. I just don't want it to look the same everywhere. So I want to have just a few chunkier looking areas here. And then right underneath, I'm going to clean that up. I don't want that to look like water, so it could look like a reflection, right, if we don't clean this up. And this isn't a fantasy painting, so we're not having any floating on water horse and carriage today. So let's quickly go over that. If it starts to look a little bit green, just keep adding some white. We want this to be nice and bright down here anyways, except for a bit of a shadow from underneath the wheels of the carriage, or underneath the wheels and the carriage. So yeah, I'm just going to apply a little bit more of my white around the sides here and kind of just leave a light gray, flattish kind of a rectangle. And as the paint starts to dry, it looks a little bit dull, you see. Even with the gesso applied, it's still losing a little bit of brightness there. So just add a little bit more snow wherever you like, but I think that looks kind of pretty like that, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, so now we're going to decide how big that we want our horse and carriage to be. And because it's got a lot of round ends to it and edges to it, I'm going to be using a Filbert brush for this instead of a flat brush. This will be easier for me to get it nice and smooth and round edges that I want. So I want my wagon to really be the focal point of this painting, so I'm going to start it just about a quarter of the way down the canvas. So right about here will be the top. So I'm going to just take a little bit of water, and I'm going to take my black with my burnt sienna. Beautiful dark chestnut brown color. It's very rich, and I like this color for lots of different things, but I don't think I've ever painted horse and wagon together before, so this is brand new for me and I'm really excited. Okay, so like I said, about a quarter of an inch down, and I'm just going to start going over the top like this. Slightly rounded, so it doesn't have to be straight. Bring it over just a little bit like that. So we want it to have a little bit of an overhang there. And then we'll bring down slant this line a little bit, okay? If you guys want to sketch yours out beforehand, that's just fine. I like to freehand. Bring that out a little further now. And we're going to have snow on the top, so don't worry about it. If it looks like a little bit bumpy or crooked on the top, we're just going to camouflage that and hide any imperfections with some snow. And we're going to scumble, pick up a little bit of water here. I'm going to take some white now, give it more of a grayish look as it comes around here. I'll go down further here now. Taking a little bit more water. So rounded and then slightly slanted like this. And we'll have some sort of a bit of a seat here showing. This is going to be covered up with lots of snow and another Christmas wreath in this area here. And then we'll have our horse, of course. Didn't mean to rhyme, but keep bringing this down here. Add a little bit more white to make that gray tone at times, especially down here. So don't try to think about exactly what you're painting. Think about where you're painting, what color it is, if it's dark, if it's light. And that's all I'm doing right now because it's quite busy with the wheels that are going to be here as well. All the snow and of course the wreath. It'll be a lot less complicated if you change your way of thinking about what you're painting. And that's what works best for me. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. So it kind of just dips down right about here. And then I'm just gonna scumble in this area here where our wreath is gonna be. So it shows up and we have a nice shadow going on. Okay, and then I'm going to take more of my burnt sienna this time, a little bit more with a bit of black. And I'll start my horse. And I'm just going to bring this actually out a little bit further. That across. Okay, and we're going to have sort of a half oval shape. Just go up and over, and then the horse, we're just going to see some ears there. He's looking that way, right? And then his head, neck, it's going to be really covered in snow. And then it comes down like this, around the side, legs, nice and skinny. Just let off on the pressure you're using on your brush so that you're using more of the tip. Just going to get a little bit of water, help loosen that paint out of my brush here. So we're going to go in a little bit, and then right over here, just kind of slant off. Up right about here. We're going to pull over. There will be a wheel covering up this leg, but let's just add that there. I'm going to bring up this area a little bit more and make his head a little bit wider, because once we add the snow, we still are going to be able to see a little bit of the side of his face, a little bit of brown here on either side. So just to be safe, let's go ahead and add that. And I'm going to take more burnt sienna now, and I'm going to pull kind of rounded like that. Take a tiny bit of white. What the white will do, it'll make it opaque, so it's not transparent, and we're not going to be able to see the trees underneath. I'm going to take a little bit more black now, and I'm just going to go right from there up above, pull that over. Oh, we need another leg in here. I'm going to add a little bit more black right in here, because I know that there's some darker shadow and base going on there. And like I said, about the legs here, don't worry at all. We've got those wheels, right, that are going to hide that. And then here, we're going to camouflage and hide the rest of the horse with our wreath in the front. And we're also going to add a beautiful red ribbon to the side of the horse as well. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna now and just go round, kind of just outline that area there. And I'll take some black and I'll go inside. So that separates from this area here. I'm going to lighten that area up a little bit more by taking some white and making a softer gray. And right from here, I'm going to bring it up across the top, leaving it dark underneath. Go ahead and add some snow. So a thick amount, and this is why it's important to have gray background so that your snow shows up. So I'm using quite a bit here, so it's nice and thick, and it really stands out. And you might need to add a little bit more later on. So a little bit here. We've got a little rectangle shape right there. A little bit of snow right there. And a little bit right there. So I'm just looking at a wagon for reference right now, and I'm not sure what all these parts are called, so apologize. I'm just adding, I'm looking at colors and shapes, and like I mentioned before, that's how I find it the easiest way to approach objects and paintings and structures. Okay, so I think I am ready to start adding some snow to our horse. I'm just going to wash my brush out. Okay, and I'm going to go just right into that white there. A tap to load it up on the bottom. And I'm going to come around here, place my finger on my brush like this, pull and drag in the middle, leaving brown and black on either side, and then pull it and drag lightly around. So you want to kind of create a little half circle type of shape and brush stroke. I'm going to go ahead and add more white on the very top. And we're going to add snow covering his ears, the top of his head, and clean this up a little bit. So I don't want his ears to look too long, and I'm going to make that gray background color and make these just a little bit shorter. Back to some white. Fill that in, and come around the side here. Just try to match that background color a little bit more. I'm going to bring his body out with a little bit of that white or gray and a little bit of burnt sienna. And come out a little bit wider right here with a little bit of a highlight like that. Then right over to burnt sienna and black mixture, just a tiny bit here. And I'm just going to carefully go around the edge, making that a bit wider. And then we'll just tuck a little bit right in here so that it looks like it's curving. So we want to bring this in and make the white a little bit narrower, the snow a little bit narrower right there. And then his hooves come down here, but they're going to be kind of hidden with some snow. So let's just kind of dab, dab, dab a little bit here. There's also going to be a shadow. So I'm just going to rinse that paint out of my brush. And I've got the right colors here that I can kind of softly blend that out, right? And it'll look like a few little lines for some shadows. Take a little bit more here. Any kind of light gray. And before we start adding our wheels, let's emphasize this shadow a little bit more. So you just want to take gray and just slide it along the bottom. kind of flat like that. And then add some white below that. I'm going to make this a little bit flatter, a little squashier. Let's add a little bit of gray over his legs here. They're a little bit further away and we want to make them a little bit more subdued. I'm going to go back into my burnt sienna here without washing my brush off. There may be a little hint of that gray in there. And now, kind of from the bottom up like this, well, I need a bit of water on my brush. We're going to go up. A bit more paint. Even a bit of that gray. Got a bit of a shimmer and shine. Kind of along there. And then what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of that black burnt sienna mixture and go right above that and right below all that snow. And there's a little line, which is probably, oops, I just touched that snow with my pinky. Got to be careful where I place my finger. One of the reins is right there. So I just used my black burnt sienna first. And then I'll just apply a little bit of snow over top. And I'm going to take a little bit of black now, and I don't know if it's some type of harness or something that's coming around here. This is what's holding the ribbon. We're gonna have a ribbon, but I think I want to add a wreath and a ribbon. Add some greenery there because I think that will look really nice with all the red. We've got that burnt sienna, which is very red, and then a ribbon. So I'm going to start with a little bit of black and my sap green, and the angle it's on, it's going to be kind of an oval, skinny oval like this, just because of how we're seeing it from this angle. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit of, just a little bit of white and green. I'm going to kind of tap with my brush to make it act like a stipple. There we go. Now I'll add the red ribbon on after, and we'll start on this one right here. Again, a little bit of black and our sap green, and we're going to have another wreath right here, a nice big one, a good size. This is closer to us. Get a little bit of that white in there. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that with a very small mop brush. I'll show you in just a moment. I'm going to do our third and final wreath here. And I'll have it right about here. Tap, tap, tap. I had a little bit of black inside here for shadow. A little bit more right on the inside here. Here we go. So I've got a really cute small mini mop brush here. Kind of on the oval side, I guess, but this is going to work really well. And what I'm going to do is take some white with my green, and we'll make that kind of a frosty mint color here. And we'll start on this side, just adding a tiny bit in here. And then as we get over here, we'll add a little bit more of the white this time, because it is snowing heavily. I mean, look at how much snow is on that poor horse there. And then we'll go ahead and start adding it to this one. And you can kind of add it in like sections. I'm going to take more white. I really want to cover the top of this one with quite a bit of snow. And I'll probably, once it's all dry, add a little bit more towards the end of the video. Depending on how quickly it dries. My studio is actually pretty warm today. I forgot to shut the heat off in here last night. I'm gonna add, I've got this is a number 1 size liner. It's pretty small. And I'm gonna add some snow to the top right there. And then I'll add a little bit of white in between the legs here. I've got to apply a little diagonal line there because the hooves go up on an angle like that. So I'm just going to do that. We're not really going to see. And then before I forget, I'll take a little bit of gray. And there's going to be a line in here. So I get my brush a little bit wet. I'll take a little bit of white and black kind of at the same time here. And it's going to go angle like that. Then cross. Just doing this with white. And then I'll go with black underneath. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of black here. And it's optional, it's just a little bit of a extra shadow. I'm gonna take some more white and go over the top here where I kind of accidentally rubbed it off with when I was resting my pinky. I like to rest my pinky on my canvas to help steady my hand, but gotta check and make sure that the paint I'm resting it on is dry. So what I want to do is add some thicker, heavier, chunkier looking snow here on the top of this wreath. So this works really well just to kind of squiggle it around with my brush just on the top. Then I'm going to tap around like this for some other little branches that might have a little bit more snow on them. You could also kind of drag it around, dry drag like that, like a dry brush. I'm going to bring this down here a little bit lower with my burnt sienna black and a little bit of white. And I'm going to switch brushes. I'm just going to use another Filbert. This is the same size as my last one, just a different brush. I'll bring this down a little lower here. I'm going to add a line, and it's going to go slightly on an angle like this. So I'm just going to take my liner brush again, a little bit of black, maybe some burnt sienna gray in there. Any combination of those will work. Actually just come right down there. Let's just push this over with a little bit of a wet brush. You can easily do that. I'm gonna add some more greenery in here. Maybe they've got a little wreath business and they're going around the village delivering wreaths. This is just one decorated wagon. There's some more greenery around here. Add a little bit of green in here as well. I know it's going to dry a little bit darker. We'll start working on the wheels pretty soon, but I do want to add, I'm so excited to add the red ribbon, so I really want to do that. Just going to add a little bit more, another layer of the snow. I'm going to take one of my smallest micro mini liner brushes. It says 10 on it, which is confusing because 10's a big number on the scale of brushes, and this is like the tiniest. So just use a really small brush. You could use a round brush, whatever small brush you have. And I'm going to take my crimson red here first. starting to dry, but it's nice and thick, and it's kind of easier to paint with when it's nice and thick like this. So add, excuse me, like a triangle, right? We'll just do a triangle, have that come up a little bit higher. 2 triangles for the ribbon. And if it picks up a little bit of that white, that's fine, because then we're gonna get some other highlights, which we're gonna be adding anyways. And it comes around like this, the bottom, and then push, wiggle, and squiggle around for the bottom of the ribbon. And then we'll make this one a little bit shorter. Okay, then I'm going to take, whoops, a little dry layer there. Some of my Scarlet red now. We're going to come inside and add the highlights. So here's where you really don't want to overblend. Otherwise, you're going to lose those nice bright highlights. Okay, and then we're going to tap some snow on. Dab. Don't pull or blend. Little bits of snow. Then we can also take a little bit of black. You really want to have some shadows in here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, just a little bit smaller. A triangle and a ribbon, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a little bit more loose and quicker. These ones are further away. Okay, then we'll take some white. And I clean my brush off before I start another one. Have the ribbon coming outside of the wreath. And we'll take our Scarlet, take a little bit more. And wipe off the excess and pick up some white. And just a little dab there. Well, I've got this white, and I know this is dry right here. I'm going to pull some snow along there as well. And I like that it picked up a little bit of that red. It's sort of a light pinky color. I think that's kind of pretty. I think it'd be really pretty to add a little bit of, maybe there's a wreath in the front here. We can't really see it. Or some greenery or something. Some pretty holiday arrangement. And I'll take a little bit more just of the green this time, then a little bit of white. Clean that brush off. Take some red. So we can't really see because it's from the front. We just see bits and pieces. And I guess no one indicating there's probably a bit of a breeze, and you can feel that movement in the ribbon. I'm going to add a highlight on top, a little bit of snow and a highlight, and if it turns a little bit pink, I don't mind at all. I think that's kind of pretty. Okay, it's time to start adding the wheels now. The other side first. I'm just going to use my Filbert brush. I'm going to take some black, a little bit of water, pick up a little bit of white, make a deep gray color. So right here, a bit more water. You just want to do a thin half circle. And I'm going to thin this out by taking some of that paint off. Right away I know that I'm going to need to add more shadow right under here. So I'm going to bring the shadow up. Bring that shadow up a little higher. There we go. I'm going to go back to my long liner brush and I'm going to do some lines for the wheels. So I'll go in a cross like that. Tell yourself it's a pie and you're cutting up the pieces. So however you would cut a pie, cut across. That's what makes it the easiest for me. Now this back one, we're going to see just part of it, and then we're going to see the other one that comes around the front here. And I'm going to do the next one here, again with my Filbert brush, black, maybe some burnt sienna. Yeah, a little bit of burnt sienna, black and white. And we're going to have a line that comes here. And the wheel starts here. It's like the size of an egg. Again, I'm going to just narrow it out. And go across for that shadow. I'm going to add a little bit of snow inside. So with a clean brush, a little bit of white. Just go around like that. Okay, then I'm going to go back to my liner brush. Those will same colors, water. And go right in half this way. Oh, I need a little bit more water. Okay. Then I'm going to take some white and I'm going to add some snow. Then I'm going to put some snow on the top right here where we would see it from that side. And just a little bit of an outline there. Add some snow at the base of the wheel. Whoops, don't want black in there or red. My palette's starting to get a little bit chaotic and messy here. I have to be careful I don't mix colors that I don't want to mix. So yeah, it's heavy snow and those wheels are going in, cutting into that snow right there. I'm gonna add some fresh titanium white right here. Okay. Now the next wheel is going to come up slightly higher. So this one's here. We're going to just go up slightly higher here and line it up. So that it goes halfway through our wheel in the back. I'm going to go back over here to my Filbert brush and just cut right underneath where we added that snow. I did that so that I could see better. Okay, we need to round this out because it's just a little bit squarish right here and flat looking. So let's just round that out, bring it out just a little bit further. Snow on the inside. And then snow in front of it. So we're going to take some of this shadow off. But you know, that's part of the process. There we go. And then our other one's going to be level with this one. Right into my black. And I'll just make it a little bit wider by taking off some of that snow or white. Then go back into the white and just reapply right there. And add some white above. We're going to bring the white right up here to this other wheel. I'm going to bring this, just eyeballing this here, adjust the sizes. We'll have our center point here, center point here. Okay, we'll start adding just a little bit more snow inside. And then we'll come in with a bit of water and our dark colors again. Burnt sienna black. Maybe I'll do this one first. Okay, and cut our lines in. Then I'll take a little bit of white. Add that little dab back in the center. And then the white on the top of that. Got a little bit there. A little bit more, I should say. Okay, let's go ahead, continue on our last wheel. Add a little bit of more of this green from the wreath here. Just make it a little bit, kind of get blended in and lost. I'm going to take that green and black around the edge here as well. Okay, we'll take a little bit of white now. Add more snow right there on this part of the wheel. And a little bit more on the top. Come in with a little bit of black right below. Work out one in here. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my Filbert brush. Clean and pretty dry. I'm going to clean up these edges here, and I'm going to make a light gray. Where I need to have a little bit more of a shadow. And then I'm going to go down this edge here again, right from the top, and add a little bit more. Make it even darker gray for the back side here again. I'll take a bit of white here. There. Back over to my liner brush. add little lines here and there, wherever I see them. Put this white in the front on the top of the horse there. I'm really liking this, and I think to finish this painting off, I want to add some snow everywhere. So I really want to make it look like it's snowing. And I'm going to be using my toothbrush that I always use to create snow. What I like to do is just kind of dunk it in the water and then gently scrub to get it all evenly mixed up on the bottom of the toothbrush. And then turn it over, place my finger here and pull, and just start spraying evenly. One very last thing before I call this painting done. I want to make this little line here stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to do a little line here and then down. Okay, so this painting is all finished. I really enjoyed working on this, and I'm glad I got to share it with you. Hope you guys are having a great creative week. Stay happy and positive. Paint along with me. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd sure love to have you join. And I'll see you all soon in another video. Bye, everybody.